welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is also in the building. It's Tuesday, y'all. Happy Tuesday. Listen, each and every time we engage with you on a media story that is happening in this city, in this state, or in this country, we aim to provide updates as they come in. And this particular story, or this story in particular, I should say, is one that I take no pleasure in even speaking about, but I will update you since it's a part of local and state media, well, now national media as well. But the police have arrested a second suspect in the Southern University students' hazing death. We all know at this point that Caleb Wilson passed away as a result of what they're labeling a fraternity hazing ritual. It says Kyle Thurman, age 25, was booked into the West Baton Rouge Detention Center on Monday after he was arrested in Port Allen by West Baton Rouge Sheriff's deputies and the U.S. Marshals Service. A West Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office spokesperson said. Thurman is expected to be transferred to East Baton Rouge Parish Prison and charged with felony hazing, according to a Baton Rouge police spokesperson. Baton Rouge Police Chief Thomas Morse Jr. said Friday Wilson's death was the direct result of being punched while pledging to join Omega Psi Phi. Morse also said then police were preparing warrants to arrest two additional suspects. Late Thursday, former Southern University student Caleb McCray, 23, surrendered to Baton Rouge police, marking the first arrest following the death of the 20-year-old junior engineering student and Kenner native. McCray was booked into East Baton Rouge prison on one count each of manslaughter and hazing. McCray made his initial court appearance Friday afternoon, where his bond was set at $100,000. His attorney, Philip Robinson, said, noting his client is innocent. Wilson, a former trumpet player for Southern University's famed Human Jukebox Marching Band, died after he was punched in the chest while participating in this, what they're labeling a fraternity hazing ritual, inside of a warehouse at 3412 Woodcrest Drive. During the ritual, pledges were brought to the building and forced to change into gray sweatsuits, with Wilson and 8 other hopefuls lined up according to height. McCray and 2 others took turns punching them in the chest and using a pair of black boxing gloves, according to McCray's arrest warrant affidavit. All of the pledges absorbed 4 punches from fraternity members, imposing the rite of passage, authorities said. Each punch represented one of the fraternity's 4 cardinal principles: manhood, scholarship, perseverance, and uplift. Investigators were told neither Omega Psi Phi members nor pledges were allowed to bring cell phones inside the warehouse during the pledging ritual, a source close to the investigation said. According to his arrest affidavit, McCray delivered the final blow before Wilson collapsed to the floor and began having a seizure. Fraternity members did not call 911 after Wilson experienced a medical episode and waited to bring him to a hospital, sources said. An autopsy report mentioned in the arrest affidavit revealed a small bruise to the right side of Wilson's chest. Wilson's full autopsy report is not yet complete. Baton Rouge Coroner's Office Chief of Investigations, Shane Tyndall, said Friday the cause and manner of his death remain undetermined, pending additional tests, which likely will take several months. Moore said Wilson was taken to Baton Rouge General Bluebonnet Hospital. Police were called there at about 2:40 a.m. on February 27th. The police chief said before leaving the hospital, the males who dropped Wilson off said they had been playing basketball with him at Baton Rouge Park. In Louisiana, hazing could be a felony under the Max Groover Act, passed by the Louisiana legislature in 2018 and named after the LSU Phi Delta Theta fraternity pledge who died in a hazing incident in 2017. Louisiana's anti-hazing laws prohibits hazing regardless of whether the targeted person voluntarily allowed it. Violators face a $1,000 fine and 6 months behind bars. If the person being hazed dies or is seriously injured, penalties increase to a $10,000 fine and 5 years in prison. The increased penalties also apply if hazing involves coercion, through alcohol consumption that leaves the victim's blood alcohol concentration at or above 0.30%. Morse told reporters Friday the case remains an active and ongoing investigation, including his department, the East Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office, with cooperation from Southern University. Dennis Shields, president of Southern University, said Friday that the fraternity involved was ordered to cease all activities at the university. Additionally, the university suspended all campus club and Greek life recruiting through the academic year. Listen, I have a whole bunch of different emotions about this case, which is why I refrain from giving you anything outside of an update. But today I'll share a couple of things about why I feel the way I do, and it's always so like solemn when I speak about this case. Is because, I mean, as a mother, I could not even imagine. I only have one son. Everybody knows that. I am a part of the Divine Nine, and if you know me, you know that. This is so tragic on every level imaginable because a lot of people are wondering, since the update came out, why is the second guy, Kyle Thurman, only being charged with the felony hazing count? I'm not a part of the investigation. I'm not police. I'm not any sort of attorney or anything, but I could only imagine because the reports continue to say that the first young man who was arrested, who also has the first name of Caleb, he is the person who actually delivered the physical blows to the deceased, whose first name is also Caleb. It has never said that Kyle Thurman put his hands on Caleb Wilson in particular. So maybe that could lend itself to why he's not charged with the manslaughter charge. But all I can suggest that we do is wait for full picture information. But I know there are questions. Everybody has questions. There's even been questions as to why another faction of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated decided to bring out their newest members. I believe it was from Norfolk. I can look it up to be clear, but I believe that's where it was. And there's some issues around and some discourse around that. I understand the sensitivity of the entire case. And maybe the sensitivity of this case should have given the fraternity some pause as to continuing with that. But on the other hand, folk who are supportive of what the fraternity did in bringing out the newest line from a different state, a different chapter, they're saying that those particular young men in that particular university had no ties to the hazing incident that took the life of Caleb Wilson. Whether you're on the side that supports them coming out or you're on the side that says this is far too sensitive for them to be so insensitive, it's very hard for me to accept any sort of judgment in this case when there is a dead 20-year-old child and we still don't even understand the fullness of this incident, nor is the investigation complete. I mean, there are a lot of things I put my really big opinions on, but I do not play with the life or death of children. And so for me, this one is extremely hard. Caleb is not my child. He's not my relative. I've never even met the child, but why do I have to know him to love him? That's the question. And we all know how kids, young men, a lot of them aspire to become members of a Divine Nine organization, as do most of our girls when they hit the campus and they see all of the camaraderie and they see all of the sisterhood and the brotherhood and the service. They see it and they want to join and they want to be a part of it. We know that. But this is time now for all of our organizations to do some introspection and to make certain that the pillars that our organizations are founded on are upheld in the most humane way possible. the most dignified way possible. Because what we cannot accept under any circumstances is the untimely death of anybody's child being at our hands. We cannot accept that. We just can't. But as a member of the Divine Nine, I am very much in deep thoughts and feelings and emotions for Caleb Wilson and his entire family, for the fraternity in question, for the friends, loved ones, former classmates, current classmates, everybody attached to that child. Because everybody's feeling it on some level, even if you have no connection like myself. But he's a young Black boy. He's 1 year older than my son. I could not imagine. And so, again, our hearts and thoughts and prayers will forever and always go out to the family of Caleb Wilson. But each and every time there's an update, we here at WBOK are going to do our best to deliver it in the most humane way possible. I wish there were a better outcome, but here we are. And now it is up to us to do better by all of our kids who aspire to belong to something. So that there's your update there. You know, when I talk about children, it always brings me back to education, right? It's always there. It's never going to go away. And there's going to be a story that I want to talk about, but I'm probably going to do it on the other side of the break, because I do believe that talking about this the unfortunate death of Caleb Wilson is just really no way to pivot from that and to give it the justice that it deserves. But I have a question. And I know before, you even answer the question for yourself, I'm certain you know where I stand, if you listen to me long enough. I do not, I have not, I will not, despite the circumstances, ever feel that people, particularly young Black boys, are far removed for redemption. I do not believe that. I will not ever believe that. And so it really bothers me, the tone and tenor of the conversations that are happening around this case, because there's not one person that I've read about or kind of gauge their opinion about it. There's not one person who doesn't want accountability. We all want it. We all want it. But some of y'all want to hang the children from the stakes and burn them alive. That's what y'all want. And I often wonder to myself, is that going to soothe something for you? Is that going to be just in your mind? Everybody wants accountability. Everybody, including the young men who've turned themselves in or are planning to turn themselves in. There has to be accountability. We all understand that. But I often wonder, why is it so easy for us to lack a modicum of compassion for each other, especially when we do the wrong thing? You know, there has to be accountability. We all know that. Anytime you engage in any activity that harms someone, especially to the extent where life is no longer viable, there has to be an atonement. We get it. But I see parents, like mothers and fathers, like literally people who have given birth or created children, they want these young boys to die too. And I often wonder, like, what's enough? Like, where's the line of enough to say, yeah, I think that's enough punishment, or that's enough accountability, or that's enough. Where is that line? Because we do want accountability. I don't think accountability has to be in a way where we're creating far more destruction than we are learning from these most egregious mistakes and errors that we're making, because we're lacking humanity for each other. I mean, this is just a hard one. This is an extremely hard one. And I don't have the answers, but I do know as a mother, I could not imagine being on either side of this. I wouldn't even want to be on either side of this. And I pray the most empathetic prayer that I can in my heart and in my mind every single day for all of our children. Because one decision, catastrophic decision, can change the trajectory of their entire lives. But we're going to talk about it. Jason, don't go anywhere. We have to take a break and pay a couple bills. But on the other side of the break, we're going to take some calls. We're going to engage in conversation. The number here is 504-582-9422. Lead with your heart this time. Let's see where your heart, how it beats. Stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, when New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Good morning and happy Tuesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. This morning, New Orleans police are searching for a man on the run. Police say the suspect cut off his ankle monitor ahead of a court date, which was set for today. 29-year-old Marlon Castellano Munoz is accused of sex crimes involving a juvenile, and according to the company that tracks his ankle monitor, Munoz last wore it around 4 p.m. yesterday. If you spot him or know where he is, call 911. Then Governor Jeff Landry is extending the deadline to close a temporary homeless shelter in Gentilly, which was originally set to shut down today. Instead, that shelter on France Road will remain open on a week-by-week basis. Right now, nearly 80 people are still at the shelter, and state officials say so far 61 people have gotten into permanent housing and 2 others got help to travel out of state. Happening today, that ongoing French Quarter trash dispute will take center stage at a committee meeting. Up for discussion, the independent contractor agreement between Henry Consulting, LLC, and Richards Disposal. Henry was awarded the original contract to service the French Quarter and Downtown Development District, but that contract was put in question due to a legal dispute between the subcontractor, Richards Disposal. An emergency bid was later awarded to Ivy Waste. Today's meeting is at 10 a.m. inside council chambers. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
Visit DePaul's new Algiers Health Center at 2801 General de Gaulle Drive to receive primary and preventive care for both adults and children. Services also include behavioral health, imaging, and on-site pharmacy, vision, Medicaid enrollment assistance, and more. For appointments, visit DePaulCommunityHealthCenters.org or call 504-207-3060.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta White, and my super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass pushing all the right buttons. We're going to jump straight to the phone lines. Good morning, Jason. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Ms. White.
How are you?
I'm doing great. You said something right before the break that got me to call because it makes a lot of sense. I feel horrible for the young man out of Kenner, all the young men that's involved in it. But when you said it, it made so much sense to me about how some people is ready to take these young men and hang them by the stakes, hang them upside down. And I actually had the conversation yesterday. I work in Chalmette, and a lot of my coworkers was talking. I know you probably heard about the Saints, not the Saints, but the LSU receiver,
yes.
Kyron Lacy.
Yes, he's a topic. He's a topic today as well. Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm noticing the rhetoric from my coworkers, and let's just be real, Ms. White. They're ready to lock this young man up and throw the key away. Oh, he was a veteran. He was this. He was that. The young man didn't care, and I'm sitting back and I'm saying to myself, where was all of this within a year when two young men from LSU killed somebody drunk driving, and both of them got off? When Miss White, when I say my whole job was speechless, because I'm like, you could pick up your phone and look this up.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. All of us, everyone hear my voice, including myself, we all have made mistakes at young ages, and let's just be real. Some of us would be in some big trouble if it was today.
Yeah.
But what the rhetoric that's being thrown out there for these young men at Southern, they're ready to literally throw every young man's life away.
Yeah.
And you made a lot of sense when you made that statement, because I don't see the anger on both sides.
You're talking about both sides of the Kyron Lacy incident, where there was a 2021 incident and a 2022, I believe, incident where people were killed with vehicles. Yeah. Yeah. We talked about that.
And both of those young
here.
men
Yeah.
are at home right now.
Yeah.
Just let them off.
And I believe one of them had a father that's a former NFL player, I want to say. We did the story here on WBOK, and that's the only thing when I reported on the story, that's the only that's the foundation to the conversation. If we're going to follow what the law says, because if you use the law and you enacted the law in 2021 and 2022, then why is the law different? Well, why does it feel different in 2024 and 2025 when you're dealing with the Kyron Lacy incident? And if we're going to talk accountability, we just need to talk equitable accountability. That's all we want. We want him to be held accountable for what took place, but we don't want the outcome to vastly differ from the two previous outcomes where the circumstances mirror each other. That's all we're saying there. Yes.
You hit it on the head. That's all our conversation was at work yesterday. Let's look at it. Don't make it feel different because the color of these young men's skin.
But
And
Jason, it is
automatically
different.
Kyron Lacy
That's
is
the
a
truth.
monster.
See, that's the quiet part that nobody wants to say out loud. That's the reason it's different. But the moment you point that out, then something is wrong with you for pointing it out.
Something wrong with me? Oh my!
That's
It was so
it.
quiet in that office
That's
yesterday in
it.
Chalmette.
That's the reason it's different. And here's my other thing. And the reason I was going to talk about this, I'm glad you called, but we'll circle back to what I was talking about. But I wanted to talk about his case in particular because I've also said here on WBOK that all of these attempts to roll back diversity, equity, and inclusion, the only place you won't see them doing it is in athletics, particularly football. Because see,
Nope.
they can't even recognize Kyron without his name on the back of his jersey and him running up a field. They won't know who he is, and they don't care. They don't care. So see, this is where we as a people and our children and the commodities that they're treated like, we have to start making different decisions for the talent that our children produce. And we need to start putting them in spaces where their humanities will also be valued. And that's all I'm saying. Because I think this is the prime time for all of the smaller schools, especially where the former NFL players are now coaching. You right? You understand what I'm saying? This is the time for them to start to try to attract these young men, because if diversity, equity, and inclusion is not at the forefront of a university such as LSU, then our talent shouldn't be there either. And that's just my 2 cents. Because the
I
prestige
totally
will
agree.
follow our children. Right? The ticket sales will follow our children. The money will follow our children because they're the talent. They're the talent. Nobody going to no LSU game to see nobody kick no field goals all day or to kick no onside kicks. They don't want it. They want somebody throwing the ball well, catching the ball well, running the ball well. That's what they want. That's what they want to see. And our kids can do that. So if your humanity isn't valued, then you take your talent where it is. And that's all I'm saying. Because, see, they want to
I
roll back
totally
DEI
agree.
everywhere but in athletics. Why? Ask yourself why. Because they're smart enough to know what makes the money. They're smart enough to know that. And they wouldn't dare do that. But then we have to start to do something different. That's just my opinion. But the Kyron Lacy incident is going to be viewed differently because he's a young black boy, and those are facts. Can't anybody refute it? Because you've had 2 instances before him where the perpetrators or the accused, right, were not black people. And they didn't spend not a day. They didn't even turn themselves in immediately. And they both left
Nope.
the scene. Right?
The
So-
same thing Kyron done.
Left the
scene.
they mirror each other, right? But we also know that money and power crowns the king, and don't add no privilege to it, because the deck is stacked in their favor. But you see, the thing that Kyron has going for him is he's a standout football player. Let's strip that away from him, and this wouldn't even be a story. He be in somebody jail right now with no headlines. Let's be clear. Let's be very clear.
You are absolutely right. And one thing I will add, not even just the colleges, because I'm dealing with it with my own child. Even these high schools and private high schools out here that love young black men going to their school. Let's just be honest, from Metairie to all of them. They recruit that park football. I know, I'm a parent.
Jason, I promised myself that I was gonna keep my blood pressure down. Okay, I don't even want to get. I don't even want to.
be honest.
Because let me tell you something, Jason. When it's particularly a black woman. Let's be very clear too, right? When a black woman makes a lot of sense when she speaks, and then she talks with a tone that is authoritative. I get so many labels put on me. It's so crazy. See, your passion is your passion, but see, my passion is a problem. Because I think we having the same conversation, and I think our tone and tenor mirrors each other, but nobody's going to talk about Jason and his volume going up. But you see, when I do it, it's a problem, baby. Fragility is a thing. It's really a thing. But if I wasn't making any kind of sense, nobody would be paying attention. I make sense. That's the problem with them. They don't want me to make sense. They want me to shut up. I think this young man deserves a fair opportunity to defend himself against the allegations that were made against him. But if you strip him away from the talent that he produces on the football field, he would not even be a headline. He would not even be a headline. He would not be a story. He'd just be incarcerated somewhere, thrown away. We wouldn't even have the other cases to juxtapose it against because we wouldn't be talking about it. It wouldn't be a story. That's why. But if you put him on the football field right now, had him running up and down, they'll forget all about whatever he's been accused of because the tickets got to sell. The tickets got to sell. Let's stop playing. I'm just disgusted by the varying judicial outcomes for our people. right? I when I read those stories from 21 and 22, I said, well, what's the difference here? If they applied the law, because that's what you say you did, then why the law seems like it's fleeting from the Kyron Lacey case? Why is it the court of public opinion? Why you want to throw him away? Yeah, because everything is about making certain that we know our place. That's what it's
Know
about.
your place. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome,
You have a
Jason.
good
Have
one.
a great one. Look, the conversations always find their way full circle. And again, I want to handle the Caleb Wilson tragedy with the utmost care that it deserves, because I'm telling you, this story bothers me to my core. It bothers me to my core. But I'm asking the question, and I really want varying perspectives here. How much punishment is enough for us? Because the conversation is all us that I'm seeing. I don't see other folk having the vitriol attached like I see for us. How much punishment is enough for you? Do y'all want to gather in the courtyard and everybody get some stones and we kill them? What is that what you want? Would that satisfy you? I just want to know. I want to know. It is horrific what happened. It's horrific. Every action after the action was horrific, because every action after that was predicated on fear. Everybody's scared. And fear have you making all of the wrong decisions. So yes, you should be accountable to whatever the law dictates, right? Because this is something that happened. It's super unfortunate, but it happened. But for us, let's put the thermometer, let's put it on our hearts and ask ourselves, how much would be enough for you? Because I just read you what the legal ramifications say, what they're facing legally. Is that not enough for you? What you want, a side of the electric chair? What do you want? A dose of nitrogen, hypoxia? What do you want? How much is enough? Because if you want accountability, there are laws in place and there are penalties in place. But it doesn't seem like that's enough for us. And what I do know is there's not a person that I know, because I'd be smooth ready to call you a liar, that if your child was on either side of this thing, you wouldn't be looking for some modicum of grace, some modicum of mercy. You could tell that lie to yourself in the mirror, but I know if you birth something, if you carry something in your womb, you carried a baby, you could not tell me that you will want your child to be burned at the stake for the most egregious thing that they've been accused of. Because keep in mind, it's still accusations. Neither of us were there. We don't know. We don't know. But see, when it's time to really talk about all of the things y'all go sit in that church and praise, put your hands up and praise and y'all Bible thumping, when it's time to actually put that theory into practice, I don't know if that's a test most of us will pass. Because it's almost like soon as we can be hypercritical of each other, oh, baby, we go far. We go far. But I be looking for that same energy for these systems. That's what I be wanting, the system. I want the system. I want the structure. That's what I want. We got to change the structure of things, the system of things, to change the outcome of things. But that's all I got for that. Again, Caleb Wilson is a victim. He deserves to be spoken about, prayed for, loved on, even in his demise. And his family deserves the same. So, simply because I have compassion for both sides of this does not mean I don't understand who the victims are. Because I do. Y'all ain't gonna like my opinion, but I do. That's why I want the structure. I want the systems that make these sorts of things continue to happen when they shouldn't. There's no place for it. There's no place for it. So I this whole situation breaks my heart. And it's just, yeah. But thank you, Jason, for calling in. And I absolutely was prepared to talk about Kyron Lacey. I'm glad you called in because we were able to just go ahead on and knock it out. But that's another case where it's like a tale of two judicial systems. And we have to ask ourselves why. And why are we participants in systems that are not equitable to us? Why do we call for the most egregious outcomes when we all know that the court systems don't need no favors when it comes to how it uses and abuses Black bodies? They don't need no help. Because if you've done something, they're going to see to it that the book is thrown at you with such force that it shakes the core of anybody watching. So they don't do, you can't do what they do. Get it out your mind. It doesn't happen that way. Black lives, right? That's what we're talking about. How Black lives matter to Black people. Because y'all, if you had your way, y'all might want to rock. Y'all might want to participate. Y'all might actually be a part of that thinking. You remember when they used to have the public hangings and the people brought their children to watch it. Y'all, this seems like that's what y'all are. Is that what you want? Is that what's going to make you feel like justice has been served? I don't know. But over in D.C., they're making certain that you don't have any visual representation of your Black life mattering, because initially they were talking about painting over the Black Lives Matter mural. But y'all remember, if you could remember the conversations we were having, and I was guesting on a show at that time about this sort of thing, I never care for paper trophies. And painting Black Lives Matter on the ground is a paper trophy to me. It has no substance and policy. It don't change no laws. It don't extend nobody's lives. It don't stop police from killing us with impunity when we're unarmed and defenseless. I never cared for this sort of theater, because that's what it is, performative theater. I never cared for it. It did nothing to protect us. Well, now, they initially said they were going to paint over it, but no, they're using jackhammers. They want to get it out. They want a whole new ground. Yeah, with their new commander in chief, he doesn't want that there. And they're going even as far, because you remember the plaza itself was named Liberty Plaza. They're going as far as calling for the plaza to be renamed, because there's no liberty and justice for all people. I don't care what the words say. They want to rename Liberty Plaza, or Mayor Muriel Bowser will lose funding from the federal government. So she had to get rid of. They had to get rid of the mural, and now they have to rename the plaza. Because remember, all of this happened when everybody was being performative. That's where all of those initiatives first came about. Everybody, including the NFL, everybody was being performative, pretending that your Black life mattered. But a Black man took a knee and lost his whole career. But Black Lives Matter, they want to put all of the words in the end zone. But y'all notice they took them up when their commander in chief was at the game. You couldn't use that anti-racism jargon with him in the skybox. You didn't want to offend the head Klansman. So funny. It's so funny because you got to laugh to keep yourself from wanting to fight. Because I just don't understand why the mere fact that we're living and breathing is so bothersome to the folk with all of the money and power and privilege. Why are you threatened by a mural on the ground? It didn't mean nothing when you put it there. It don't mean nothing now that you taking it up. It's not going to bother us. Why does it even bother you? Because you can't even see it because it fries your racist skin, turns it into crispy bacon, I guess. I don't know. I have no idea. But y'all worry about all the wrong things and we spend all of this money on all of the wrong things. Meanwhile, the Jewish community is going around sending out their own threats to colleges and universities. If you don't respect the Jewish population, then you're going to lose funding. Some of the schools have already lost hundreds of millions. Ask Columbia. Because you can't be anti-Semitic, but you can absolutely be anti-black, baby. Because we don't have no money to threaten you with taking. We don't have the power nor the wealth. Right? Because we also didn't get reparations. You see how all that go together? Everybody works together to make certain that we don't ever have a playing field that's leveled. Everybody else could dole out all of these threats and make certain that their voices are extremely heard through the stripping of funding, but we don't have that. And they want to make sure we never have that. But we're going to continue to talk about it. On the other side of the break, y'all, let me tell you something. There's a charter school superintendent who makes almost $1 million. Guess how many students he have? If you could call in here and tell me how many students he have, because I'm going to tell you on the other side of the break, but if that phone light up before I get to talking, I'm going to ask you, how many kids you think he's servicing for nearly $1 million salary? And he have more money in bonuses than he has in his base salary for a handful of children. I was about to give y'all the answer. I'm sorry. Y'all stay with us right here. On the other side of the break, we're going to talk about it. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Mostly sunny with less wind. It will feel better today. Highs reach the mid to upper 70s with dry conditions. Chilly tonight, low 40s on the North Shore, 50s on the South Shore. Tomorrow, similar to today, few more clouds though. Highs in the mid to upper 70s. Possible storms for Saturday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Welcome to Chemical of the Month, a service of the community scientist and Rise St. James. This month, we're focusing on cadmium, a highly toxic metal commonly found in batteries, pigments, and industrial waste. Exposure can severely impact your lungs, kidneys, and bones. Visit risestjames.org to learn more about how cadmium affects you and what steps you can take to safeguard your family. Together, we can fight for a safer, healthier future. Rise St. James, standing strong for health, justice, and a toxic-free environment.
Good morning. Wake up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. If you are just joining us prior to the break, I was getting ready to tell y'all about this charter school superintendent who makes nearly $1 million in salary, and he leads a district with 1,000 students. 1,000 students. He takes home $870,000. It says on paper, Salvador Cavazos earns less than $300,000 to run Valier Public Schools, a small Texas charter network. But taxpayers likely aren't aware that his total pay makes him one of the country's highest earning superintendents. Over the last 3 years, the head of a small charter network that serves fewer than, it's not even 1,000. He ain't even hit 1,000. Fewer than 1,000 students has taken home up to $870,000 annually. Over 3 years, annually. A startling amount that appears to be the highest for any public school superintendent in the state and among the top in the nation. Well, he also has additional compensation that goes well over $450,000. That's the bonuses he's making to make his salary near the $1 million mark. Valier Public School Superintendent Salvador Cavazos' compensation to run 3 campuses in Austin, Corpus Christi, and Brownsville. Now, that's 3 campuses and less than 1,000 children. So he got about 300 kids per campus. But Cavazos' salary looks far more modest in publicly posted records that are supposed to provide transparency to taxpayers. So to the public, he only makes close to $300,000 because that's the only thing that's on his posted public records. That's because Valier excludes most of his bonuses from the reports that he makes to the state on its own website, instead only sharing his base pay of about $300,000. I wonder why. Why, if you feel like you're working for this money and you're earning this money and you could account for this money, why are you hiding it in public records? The fact that the superintendent of a small district could pull in a big salary shocked experts and previewed larger transparency and accountability challenges. Those are those 2 words that we love so much here, but we don't like to practice them, but we love to say them here in the great state of Louisiana, more particularly the parish of Orleans. Challenges that could follow as Texas moves to approve a voucher-like program. Here we go. Here come that voucher. You know, the hijacking of public education so we can put our much needed valuable resources into a more privatized structure because, you know, nobody's really checking what you're doing over there. A voucher-like program that would allow the use of public funds for private schools. The superintendent's salary is alarming, said Duncan Klussman, an associate professor at the University of Houston, Department of Educational Leadership and Policy Studies. I just can't imagine that there be any citizen in the state of Texas that will feel like that's okay. Details concerning Cavazos' compensation and that of 2 other superintendents identified by ProPublica and the Texas Tribune drew a sharp rebuke from the association that advocates for charter schools across the state. It's not acceptable for any public school to prioritize someone's personal enrichment ahead of students' best interests. What? Did y'all hear what Brian Whitley, the spokesperson for the Texas Public Charter Schools Association, said? I wonder if he knows Caroline Roma, the same person that runs the charter schools here in the great state of Louisiana. He said it's not acceptable for any public school to prioritize someone's personal enrichment ahead of students' best interests. Well, if that's not acceptable, the structure here wouldn't be what it is. Brian added that any payment decisions made at the expense of students should be reversed immediately. Brian, I'm going to have to get you on the phone. I'm going to have to call you and ask you to guest on this show, because the way you think about charter schools in Texas is absolutely not how they think about charter schools here in New Orleans. Absolutely not. Brian says it's not acceptable for any public school to prioritize someone's personal enrichment ahead of students' best interests. Wait till he hear the salaries that are being made around here, and all of the positions that's making said salaries, and all of the husband and wives that are working at the same schools making the same salary on the backs of our children who can't even read. It would almost be a joke if it weren't true. The article goes on to say the public charter school community has long embraced strong accountability and transparency. What public charter school community? Can't be the one here. He must be talking about in Texas. Huh, Nyron? He got to be talking about in Texas. Because he said the public charter school community has long embraced strong accountability and transparency. He says that's what Texans deserve, both for academic outcomes and taxpayer dollars. I agree, sir. I'm going to call you. I promise you, I'm going to send you an email, and I'm going to ask you to come. And since I'm saying it on the air, I'm sure the Louisiana charter school folk going to be calling you too, saying, Brian, don't go on that show. They be so pressed like a panini. They be so pressed about the things that are said about them when they are very much truthful. Brian said the public charter school community in Texas has long embraced strong accountability and transparency, because that's what Texans deserve, both for academic outcomes and taxpayer dollars. And I couldn't agree more as someone in the great state of Louisiana, more namely in the city of New Orleans, more specifically Orleans Parish. To that end, the full picture of superintendent compensation at all public schools should be made clearer. Texas lawmakers have filed legislation that would cap public school superintendent annual salaries. But most bills would not restrict the bonuses. No, you don't want to restrict those bonuses, because, see, they can hide those bonuses. See, that salary got to be public, because according to this article, you can hide those bonuses, though. You can tell the people you make $300 when you're really making $870,000. You making more money in bonuses than you are in your base salary. Something in the water ain't clean. For 1,000 children, you making $870 per head. My goodness. Those bills also don't apply to private schools that stand to receive an influx of taxpayer dollars if lawmakers pass legislation that this session approving education savings accounts. Y'all see where we're going with this? Y'all see how all of these states are doing the same things when it comes to pillaging through public money to fund these privatized institutions with these education savings accounts? A type of voucher program. No, they just rebranded it. They rebrand failure all the time. If they can't pass it one way, they're going to change the color so they could try to pass it the next time. If they don't pass with changing the color, they're going to change the outfit, because you got to look different so you can feel different to the people reading the bills for approval. They just masked the failure. The article says private schools won't be subject to the same level of state oversight as public schools, but we know that already. That's why y'all want to take the money out the private entity and put it out the public entity and put it in the private entity, because there's no real accountability and transparency. There's no checks and balances. That's dangerous. Autonomy without checks and balances is dangerous. It's dangerous. This is where that greed comes in. Because when you know when the fox ain't watching the hen house, we know what happens. They run amok. But I only talked about this article because it's so insane to think that one person in one district with 1,000 children could be taking home nearly $1 million in compensation. And you notice, Victor, the article don't talk about nothing about academic outcomes because they don't care. They don't care if the kids are reading or learning, money being made around here. Y'all stay tuned. Up next, we're going to talk to the one and only Victor Sims about the psychological reasons behind decision making. What's the psychological reasons you could be making $870,000 for 1,000 students? We're going to ask Victor Sims up next. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. Senate Democrats are pushing to reinstate 6,000 veterans fired by Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. They make up 30% of the federal workforce. President Trump is commenting on Columbia student Mahmoud Khalil's arrest. He stated in a Truth Social post that the Trump administration will not tolerate students engaging in pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic, or anti-American activity. He also claimed many protesters are not students, but paid agitators. Wendy Williams was hospitalized after calling 911 and throwing notes from her Manhattan, New York assisted living facility. Authorities are investigating her guardianship and living conditions. Williams was taken to Lenox Hill Hospital for evaluation. And the Jets have signed Black quarterback Justin Fields to a 2-year, $40 million contract with $30 million guaranteed. Fields backed up the Steelers last season after 3 seasons with the Chicago Bears. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Attention New Orleans educators. Are you ready to transform literacy education in your school? The 2025 Literacy Leader Cohort is a 2-year program designed to empower middle and high school leaders with cutting-edge science of reading training, coaching support, expert-led workshops, and earn a $3,000 stipend. Apply by March 21st to lead the way in reshaping literacy for our city students. Don't miss this chance to grow and make a lasting impact. Visit newschoolsneworleans.org to apply and learn more.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta. Why my super producer, Naira Sanders, is also in the building, and we have been joined by the one and only Victor Sims. But before we jump into conversation with Victor Sims talking about the psychological reasons behind decision making, I want to tell you about an event that is happening this evening at Community Bookstore. Shout out to Mama Jen and Mama Vera over at Community Book Center. They're going to welcome Maurice Carlos Ruffin in conversation with Anel Lopez, and it is The American Daughters. That is the book authored by Maurice Carlos Ruffin. It is taking place today at 6 p.m. It says Maurice Carlos Ruffin is the author of the historical novel, The American Daughters, as well as The Ones Who Don't Say They Love You, a one-book, one New Orleans selection, a New York Times editor's choice, and was long-listed for the Story Prize. If you want to join this conversation, the address is 2523 Bayou Road right here in New Orleans, and the number is 504-948-READ. That is 504-948-7323. Today, 6 p.m., Community Book Center. Maurice Carlos Ruffin in conversation with Anel Lopez. Again, shout out to Mama Vera and Mama Jen over at the Community Book Center. So listen, before the break, we were talking about about you being in the wrong profession, sir. You have far too much invaluable expertise, and you change so many lives with your expertise, but we must be in the wrong profession.
Yeah, something's wrong.
$870,000 for 1,000 students.
Yeah.
Yeah, money being made around there in Texas. But what are the psychological reasons behind decision making? Let's talk about that.
You remember, decision making are thoughts, and thoughts always lead to every other thing that we do. Initially, it generates an emotion. Emotion generates a behavior. Behavior gives us consequences. But where does it come from? Our thoughts come from the thing we've been exposed to, things we have seen, heard, been told, and those things formulate within our own minds about achieving some purpose. And that purpose is usually my own self-satisfaction, my own self-image, and my self-desires, things I've determined I really want that will make me feel good, comfortable, warm, safe, because we all strive for these type of consequences. Getting them that's where our thoughts come in. What methods do I use in order to achieve those particular human drives at warmth, comfort, satisfaction, happiness, contentment? Those are normal drives for all of us. So how do we get them? Well, those ideas. From the very first time we became aware that we were separate from our parents, we began to strive for those comfort issues. And we began to see things around us in our environment. Our environment will create the necessary thoughts in order to survive that environment. Me, myself, I come up in the Callio Project. And during those days, when you came up, being prepared to get aggressive or fight was normal. That was just a normal daily activity. If you came outside, you prepared to fight somebody about something. And I came outside every day. So it was normal. Well, when I left that neighborhood, that environment, and went to a new environment, I joined the Navy, I took those things with me because that was where I was thinking. That's the way my thoughts were, because that's how they had been constructed based upon the environment I was developed and raised in. Well, in this environment, those thoughts weren't working very well. They were causing some problems, some difficulties. And it was difficult for me to grasp what was happening because to me, I was being and thinking and doing the things that I normally think and do. It's when I left the military and took a course in psychology and sociology that it came to fruition. Why was this such a problematic issue? Because the thoughts I had generated based upon the environment I developed in caused me to always think about aggressive ways of obtaining things that would make me feel warm and comfortable and content. And these things in one environment was okay, but in another environment, they weren't. So the changing of the thinking was necessary in order to be able to achieve those same goals, but in a different environment. So where do we get our thoughts and ideas from? Do we even think about where they came from? And that's why you can have different people can look at the same situation and come away with totally different decisions about what it is that they saw based upon how they perceive that experience. And that perception is based upon the way they see things, based upon how they've learned how to think. Some people will see the individual. We're talking about the horrible situation that took place in Suno. At Southern. Some people want the individuals who were involved to be hung. Some people want them to be understood. So where did that different concept come from for the exact same situation? Based upon who that person, those people are who come up with the ideas, how they were raised, what they saw, the experiences that they've had. If they've had an individual who was unfortunately succumbed to murder, they may be much more harder on this individual. If they were the people who knew someone who had been accused of it, and then they may be much softer on it. So based upon their experiences, things they've gone through is where some of our ideas about how we're going to handle the situation come from.
So how does social influence play a role in the decisions individuals make? And we're not even talking just the person making the decisions, but the case we were talking about with all of these outside opinions and thoughts playing into how we see things. Lived experiences alter
Mm-hmm.
how we think about things. So what about social influence?
Oh, huge situation. You see, if I don't have a thought about it and I listen to something that appears to be correct to me, okay, my question would be, well, why is it correct, that particular viewpoint of this situation correct to you? And now we need to understand where we get that from. And that could be something that transpired way back as we were a kid, that took place when we felt it was unjust, unfair. Now we project that onto this current situation. And if I hear, and we have this concept we also call, the positive term is groupthink. The negative term is mob mentality. But it has been proven that we as human beings would tend to follow a group of individuals who have a concept, a thought, a series of behaviors, because it's the group. And if I don't have my own ideas and thoughts about it, or steadfastly in my own opinions, I would tend to go along with the group. And research has demonstrated that we are very susceptible to groupthink. There was an exercise done where these four individuals, where they were testing out groupthink. So they had an ad in the paper to come look for a job. Okay, so you had to come to this particular building, particular office, and when you come into the building, you sit at a computer and you apply for the job. Well, the setup was there were three people who were part of the experiment were already in the office on the computer. So this young man came in, sat at the computer, was going through the application. Well, he had to walk by a ladder that was in the hall with a gentleman in the ceiling doing some work inside the ceiling. Well, once he sat down and started doing this, the experimenters pushed the ladder down and it fell, made a big crash. And then you heard a person saying, "Help, help." All four people turned and looked at the door. Well, the three plants turned back to their computer. The fellow who was the subject of the experiment, he looked at he looked at the three of them and he went back to his computer. If they ran the experiment about 10 times before somebody got up and went outside to find out what was going on. A powerful example of groupthink, how we will go along with the crowd because we don't have our own thoughts and ideas. So where did ideas come from? Yes, social exposure to different thoughts and ideas can alter people's thoughts, which will alter their emotions, which will also alter their behavior.
So what about the concept of cognitive bias? Talk to us about that.
Well, what you mean by that, and I'm going to expand on that a little bit, is that it's really important to me. It's a thought, it's an idea that's overwhelming. It consumes me. It has to happen. I'm fired up about this particular thing. We use that term "fired up," mean that particular thought and idea has generated so much energy inside of us, and from a chemical standpoint, the dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, neurotransmitters in our brains are really overactive at this point in time behind this particular thought and idea. And some people will really go extreme in their behaviors based upon this type of a concept that they have that generates that level of neurotransmitter activity within their brains.
So what is loss aversion? So talk to us about loss aversion and how it might lead people to make decisions that are more conservative or risk averse than they should be.
Well, aversion is when we have experienced something that is uncomfortable, that is distasteful, that generates uncomfortable emotions, hurt, pain, whatever it's called, makes it feel uncomfortable. So when we experience such a situation, we tend to avoid that at all costs, because of the desire for love, warmth, kindness, generosity. Well, an aversion means something has caused a lot of discomfort, pain, physical pain, emotional pain, difficulty and hardship. So we develop a barrier or a defense or an aversion to this particular thing or person. Because it could be a person that can generate that level of resistance or defensiveness in us at that particular time.
And it also says that it's people experience the pain of loss more strongly than the pleasure of an equivalent gain, leading them to prefer avoiding losses over acquiring gains.
Yes.
That's what that means there. But how does fatigue affect decision making? And what strategies can be employed to mitigate the impact? I feel like I'm a case study in that one, but how does fatigue affect how we make our decisions?
A huge amount. We will lose energy behind fatigue. One of the NFL coaches who became Hall of Fame, who used to coach the Dallas Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson, he made a statement. He said, fatigue will make cowards out of all of us. So that's why he was running his players so hard. Because once we become that physically uncomfortable, based upon fatigue, we're tired, we're running out of juice, our thoughts tend to change. That thing we thought we might have really wanted, based upon the level of fatigue and tiredness we get, suddenly it doesn't have such a big a desire anymore. I'm willing to back away from this now. Well, I thought I wanted it, but maybe no, because of the level of fatigue, tiredness, irritation, frustration that drive is generating, it will change that thought.
So I want to talk about this idea of psychological reasons behind decision making. I want to tie it to what's happening nationally, right?
Okay.
There's this push now from the Doge department that Elon Musk is running, and now he's going after what he's talking about, or entitlement.
Yeah.
Entitlement funding, and it's Social Security benefits, it's SNAP benefits, it's Medicaid, Medicare, it's TANF benefits. What are the psychological reasons behind something this egregious? Because all of these things that they're attacking, it doesn't feel like they're looking for waste, fraud, and abuse. It's looking like they're trying to make certain that there's a forever bottom class of people, right? Because without those programs, a lot of communities who are already vulnerable won't have much of anything to hold itself together.
Okay.
What is the psychological reason behind something so inhumane?
Well, individuals who are in aspects or places on our planet, and I'm going to make a planetary kind of statement here, who have all needs, wishes, wants, and desires met, do not understand those who do not. Especially if that individual feels as though they have worked for what they have accomplished and achieved. And because they have experienced success in their endeavors, they look at that method of achievement as it. So if you are not engaged in the same type of or similar activities or methods that they were, then some way, shape, or form, you probably not, you're not supposed to be able to have those aspects of life that are considered positive things. Be able to go where you want, eat what you want, drink what you want, drive what you want, live where you want. Because if you have not done it their way, because that's their concepts and thoughts. So now let's take that into the question. Individuals who are on assistance or getting entitlements, this person can actually look at them people as abusing the system because they didn't do the thing that he did or they did, whoever the case may be, in order to achieve their ability to survive on planet Earth. Because remember, our basic needs are food, shelter, clothing, and comfort. And if I have engaged in certain behavior that are able to acquire these things, and I look at a person who's been able to get the necessities who did not do what I did, I can look down upon them as people who don't really deserve it. And I'm looking at when I pay attention to what's taking place with the Doge and this, I'm looking at, and when I looked at who sat at the inauguration, who sat right behind the swearing in ceremony. You had a lot of billionaires of the planet. These individuals, and when you have that group of individuals together, it's a group think kind of a thing. And so for those of us who are on some form of assistance, to them, we might be milking the system. I've even heard Mr. Musk mention that Medicare is a Ponzi scheme.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, what? A Ponzi scheme? Does he realize it was put together based upon the crash of the 29 that caused Americans to be jumping off buildings and standing in food lines and soup lines? So this system was put into play to prevent that from transpiring again, knowing that there was a lower echelon of individuals. But he, because of based upon who he is and what he has been able to accomplish in life and do, he looks at it as a Ponzi scheme. Ponzi scheme basically is illegal.
He looks at it like a Ponzi scheme, but there are reports that if you own a Tesla that he makes, right?
Yeah.
For any reason, his company can decide to salvage your vehicle. Nothing could be wrong with it. They could just decide to salvage it and take it back from you because
that's news to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is happening here. There's a guy who bought his Tesla for service. It's only been a one owner vehicle. And the lady was telling him that she found all of this damage. And the man is like, I have a clean title. My car has never been. Well, that's what the computer is reading. And we're told here that we have to let you know that the salvage, once it's salvaged, all of these things, now they're charging him to fix all of these things that are not broken. There's never been an accident. And you're talking positive. Does that seem like a scam to you? Like I can put my car in for service and you can just create issues with it. And I can't say or do anything about it as the rightful owner. And then she's saying he has to call Tesla legal to ask them because they can't give him any more information. But we have to go to break and pay a couple bills. But we're going to continue to talk about the psychological reasons behind decision making, because I really and truly think that he has like an evil genius persona and he just wants to do this because he's trying to see if he can. Yeah. That's what, there are some people who do things for the simple satisfaction of seeing.
Of their own personal satisfaction.
Let's talk about it on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Late nights are made for chillin', and you can do just that every Sunday night at 10 p.m. as DJ Wick brings you The Love Zone. It's the perfect way to top off your weekend with your favorite old and new school ballads. So sit back, relax, and let DJ Wick take you to the Love Zone on WBOK 1230 AM and on the World Wide Web at WBOK1230.com.
Good morning and happy Tuesday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a look at today's headlines. This morning, New Orleans police are searching for a man on the run. Police say the suspect cut off his ankle monitor ahead of a court date, which was set for today. 29-year-old Marlon Castellano Munoz is accused of sex crimes involving a juvenile. And according to the company that tracks his ankle monitor, Munoz last wore it around 4 p.m. yesterday. If you spot him or know where he is, call 911. Then Governor Jeff Landry is extending the deadline to close a temporary homeless shelter in Gentilly, which was originally set to shut down today. Instead, that shelter on France Road will remain open on a week-by-week basis. Right now, nearly 80 people are still at the shelter, and state officials say so far 61 people have gotten into permanent housing and 2 others got help to travel out of state. Happening today, that ongoing French Quarter trash dispute will take center stage at a committee meeting. Up for discussion, the independent contractor agreement between Henry Consulting, LLC, and Richards Disposal. Henry was awarded the original contract to service the French Quarter and Downtown Development District, but that contract was put in question due to a legal dispute between the subcontractor, Richards Disposal. An emergency bid was later awarded to Ivy Waste. Today's meeting is at 10 a.m. inside council chambers. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News. Have a great day.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Hi, this is Cary Grant. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events and sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join us every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Cary Show.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM. Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. If you're just joining us, we've been in conversation with the one and only Victor Sims, talking about the psychological reasons behind decision making. And you have a caller on line one. Miss Alicia, welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Victor Sims.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. I have a question with the Inspector General. You're familiar with that? What's going on with him?
The state?
The one for the city.
Oh, okay.
The guy who undressed Susan Hudson, our sheriff, talked about shoving something up her vagina, and he talked about our police monitor says he can't stand her. She sits and bat her eyes and twirl her hair, and she has such a big derriere. But he said the 3-letter word, and he constantly goes after black officials. I just don't understand the psyche of people that'll go along to get along. I just don't understand that. When these people granted him a 4-year extension on a new contract, they gave him a new contract, and he has all of this stuff going on. He is the most unethical person that's supposed to be over ethics. And these people voted to let him continue. I just don't understand the psyche of people that go along just to get along. And I'm going to say this. I don't know if you're familiar with the Return to Splendor Manifesto by, what's his name, Press Kabakoff. This was the written information that came from that Dallas meeting after Katrina when he called Ray Nagin to have a meeting to tell Ray Nagin this is how we're going to do it. Post-Katrina, it's going to be a new New Orleans. We don't want you. We're going to bring Mitch Landrieu in here, and they're going to control the city by the boards. They're going to put people on the board to control what they want. One of the things was to green space New Orleans East. But New Orleans East Business Association, we fought them, and we came back. But for people to sit there and see things that's not right and go along with it, I just don't understand that kind of psychosis.
Yeah.
And before I go, Doc, I know you're not gonna have enough time today, but I want to recommend Miss Barbara Cook for our Woman of the Day. Miss Barbara Cook is
for Women's History Month, Miss Barbara Cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Barbara Cook is 80-something years old, and she would be out there at those 5 o'clock bus corners watching our children waiting for the school buses. Mm-hmm. And I want to give a shout out to Miss Barbara Cook for that. I don't know if you remember Miss Cook.
I do.
But she was one of our stalwarts. She was really, really out there at 5 o'clock in the morning watching the school children to make sure they were safe at the bus cars. I want to say that.
Well, shout out
Y'all
to
have
Miss Barbara Cook. Thank you, Miss Alicia. We've been trying to highlight trailblazing, trend-setting women all month for Women's History Month, and today
Beautiful.
we're going to honor Miss Barbara Cook.
Wonderful.
Right
Wonderful.
out the city of New Orleans. And so, did you want to add anything to what Miss Alicia was talking about?
Sure.
In terms of the OIG, his name is Ed Michel.
Okay.
And
Well,
for some reason, the Ethics Commission has unanimously awarded him an extension of his contract, even with all of the allegations that were made, even with the accusations of taxpayer money waste, no bid contracts, obstruction of public records, and misconduct. And this is all in an article entitled New Orleans Watchdog Under Fire, OIG Accused of Waste and Corruption. It's written by Jeff Thomas from Black Source Media, and it highlights the work done by the New Orleans United Front, which is a community coalition advocating for transparency and accountability in New Orleans governance.
Yeah. Again, back to motivations, desires, outcomes. Individual will come up with those particular things based upon the concepts that they're working with. Where did they get their concepts from? Where did they get their thoughts and ideas from? What are their desires? What are their wishes and their wants? That's the basis for the eventual thought that's going to lead to particular behavior. And in this type of arena, in the political arena, one of the most powerful element that I find is power, the ability to wield power, which means I can make things happen. I can get things done. And sometimes individuals within that arena, when they are able to get things done and receive some form of accolade for it, can overshoot their thoughts from the next situation. Basically, if I can do A, why can't I do B and C? And even though these things may be looked at by one group of individuals or person as inappropriate, the other group of people who, based upon the organizational structure, and I'm looking at, I guess, the city charter or whatever legal methods that they have for him, for his office, he evidently, I would assume anyway, meets some of those criteria. Therefore, the people who are charged with making those decisions can look at his personal behavior and make different decisions based upon the thing that they're looking at as a measuring stick. Basically, what is driving your thinking? What is driving your ideas? Where are you getting your ideas from? Because for some people, again, who are thinking of a more ethical behavior, which says you show concern for other people, where you show respect for other people, will look at his behavior as extremely inappropriate.
But how do we, to her point, to Miss Alicia's point, how do we, as a community of people, know things like this are going on, but the very few people who are raising concerns or saying something about it are often the people who are criticized and not the person actually committing the infractions themselves or the structure or system that's upholding it? Because how do does the Ethics Commission extend or make it possible for a contract to be extended to him with all of these allegations in the air that have not come to any sort of conclusion? You said these sexist things about women in leadership in this city. The records are not transparent. The records are delayed, but you're a part of a watchdog. Your job is to hold people accountable to things, but you are above accountability and transparency, and then we can co-sign that by extending a contract.
Well, then, and I'm gonna try to respond to it this way. Remember, we said allegations.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, there are individuals who think just because you've been accused doesn't mean you're guilty.
No, we get that.
You know, but that's I think where it's coming from. You see, because unless it's been proven within the system, the individuals make the decisions who may have their own personal rationale will lean on such a concept as an allegation, not a proof of inappropriate behavior.
I believe that the New Orleans United Front, they have a whole report on him. So there had to be some sort of research, some sort of digging. Because if I request a record, if I'm saying that records are delayed, the only evidence I need is to show that I requested the record on such and such day. I still have yet to have the record on this day.
Right.
So either you're purposely blocking me from the record or the record doesn't exist, because why can't you produce it? That's the only proof that I need there, right?
And you're absolutely correct. And the thoughts of the individuals who are supposed to provide that information. What is governing them? What is driving them? Where are they getting their thoughts and their ideas from?
Right.
And if you remember, the political arena is a power arena. Who has power? Who can get something? Power meaning who can get something done. And within that arena, if you are a person who has a particular position, you have some form of authority in that situation. So therefore, you want to maintain your authority. And if someone is looking to have an idea or a thought that you are acting inappropriately and want to look up for that based upon your ideas of what you're trying to hold on to, I'm going to automatically think that my thoughts and ideas are accurate.
So that's why I wanted to clarify real quick, Papa Baptiste. Hold on 1 second. I'm going to get to you, but this is why I needed you to hear the clarity. There was a report. And the report says, inspecting the fox that watches the hen house, a report on the New Orleans Inspector General. So there's a report. Here are the findings. So this is not just accusations at this point. These are the findings.
Okay.
Taxpayer waste, over $200,000 spent defending Inspector General Michelle against allegations of racial bias, misogyny, and professional misconduct. Lack of transparency. The ERB dismissed complaints against Michelle without investigating, shielding him from accountability. Obstruction of public records. The New Orleans United Front requests for Michelle's credit card expenses, performance evaluations, and legal settlements were ignored or delayed. No bid contracts. The ERB funneled public money into undisclosed legal expenses without oversight, creating a system of financial mismanagement and a pattern of bias. The OIG's investigations disproportionately target black leaders, raising serious concerns of racial profiling in the local government oversight. The two people that Ms. Plummer's commentary centered on were two black female, one black female leader and then one white female leader who heads an office that is supposed to make certain that police officers are monitored.
Right.
And making sure they're doing the right thing, right? So this, to me, if there's a report and it's saying findings, this is more and deeper than just an accusation.
Yeah.
So if these are the findings, my question would be, and I think that kind of attaches itself to what Ms. Alicia was asking, how do we then get to a point where an ethics commission can overlook all of this to say,
because the individuals on the Ethics Commission have their own thoughts and ideas about what it is they're going to hold and what they're going to look at. Now, getting into them to make a determination where they came from, what are their goals, what are their objectives, what are their motivations, will answer those questions. Now, you would have to, in my opinion, you would have to get them individuals in front of someone who has authority over them to question them about their thoughts, their ideas, and decision-making, given this overwhelming set of information about this gentleman. How do you come up with that thought and that idea? As I mentioned, the environment that you operate within governs the thoughts that you're going to have. So the question would be for the commission that oversees him, where are they getting their thoughts and ideas from? What are their goals? What are their objectives? What are they trying to accomplish? That they can look at these facts, not just accusations, you're 100% correct, these facts, and yet continue with this individual being in that position. There is a definite rationale and reason for it, because we don't see it, and we're looking on the outside because we're looking at it from a different set of thoughts and ideas. They have a different set. How we know? Because they came up with an entirely different concept, entirely different behavior. So getting into the minds of those individuals who are not looking at this, and I think I heard you mention also that there have been record requests that have not been adhered to.
They have not been turned over or they were delayed.
If the legal says that I have the right to make this request, then who made the decision to delay it?
Let's go to the phone line. Papa Baptiste, good morning. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Victor Sims.
Good morning, Doc. Victor, peace and blessings comment ça va, from the Baptiste family, from Papa Baptiste. All right, straight up, thank you. Straight to the point, unless you hear Eli Musk say that we want to get rid of Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, those social entitlements are the biggest piece of cheese we need to take out of, pull out of the American systems. You got to realize he's come from South Africa, where the South Africans, blacks, had no Social Security, no food stamps, no SNAPs,
no, they didn't have any entitlements. So for him to say that, unless you hear, it's on. I reposted it on my Facebook page. They may take it down. Him on Fox News saying that's one of the big things that we got to get rid of. So that's what the Republican people say is, well, we got a race war going on. We're going to have some collateral damage. So some of the poor whites are going to have to just take it and eat it and be, like he said, well, it's going to be tough for a little while. But it's a race war, and so they're going to be, in the wars, there are collateral damage. So some of these white folks are going to go down and that voted for him and out there and just praising him like he's God. They actually, they're going to have to deal with God on that, because one lady says he was sent by Jesus Christ. So I don't know where she got that from.
Yeah, it make two of us.
You don't understand what I'm saying. So when you have these people, because I'll shoot myself in the foot if you're against a black person and a person of color. No matter if I'm staying in a 3-room trailer with no heat, I'm burning the sun for my electricity, and this perfect person that went to scholarships, master's degrees, doctor's degrees, all the astute educational person, I am better than them simply because I'm white. So you're dealing with a flat out good against evil. So if you believe in the Bible, it says that. The smiling person, the evil person is going to be smiling in your face. It's going to be, hey, thank you. And you're going to be just the sweetest person you assume that they're thinking. But in their thoughts, they're saying, I'm going to try and cripple you and take everything you got. And that's what some of the people think. You got black symbols out there working for them because they may be living a little larger than the next person. So I'll do it to keep my status, so I can be a part of this and a part of that. I even go down for this, so to keep my status. So once again, worshiping money, worshiping a status above another person. But it's real simple. God made stuff real simple. You either believe in good or you don't. And we are dealing with somebody that absolutely do not believe in good. Unless you hear it come out of his mouth, I'm leaving with this, saying that we want to take all of this from you, knowing that it's coming to people of color first before that. And the whites don't even realize that. They're going to get hit hard as hard, because there are more of them than us. So that's going to cripple Mr. I want to do you, Trump. I'll dance and fire for you and all that. on that unnatural stuff. Because you're looking at unnatural stuff that's happening, Victor. It's unnatural for this hatred and cruelty. And the part of cruelty is to make people suffer.
Well, you have to understand something. Remember when we first started this conversation, my own personal comfort, my own personal happiness, my own personal satisfaction. And if that means I have to step on you for me to get that, then that's what I would do. And you brought up a very powerful point when you mentioned where Mr. Musk was raised. He was raised in an area to discriminate against a certain group of people. And that was his environment. That's what he developed. And for him to come here now and to look at a system that went totally against the system that he was against, he doesn't understand that. He doesn't see that. You see, and when you talk about good, you got to be a little careful, because to him, this is good. To remove individuals from aid that they're getting from Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. To him, he put the label Ponzi scheme. That's a negative concept. That's a negative thought. So if he can sell you on that thought, then getting rid of it is a good thing. Because if it is a bad thing, getting rid of it is a good thing. So you got to be cautious when you're utilizing words like good and bad, especially because that's my concept based upon what I'm thinking. But what is he thinking? Where has his thoughts and ideas come from? And when you look at the environment he was reared in, you can see where it comes from. Same way with the president. This man was reared by big millionaires. Everything he ever wanted, he was able to get with just a thought. So for him to go into an environment such as on his first time around, where he had to literally ask people to agree with him, that was too uncomfortable. He didn't have to do that. So this time around, he made sure he put people around him who will do and say anything he does or says, because that makes him feel good. His thoughts and ideas to him are correct, despite the country almost going up in flames. But as he said, well, we can have a little pain. We can have a little pain because he's not going to hurt for a thing, for not one thing. So thoughts and ideas come from the environment that the individual is raised within and what their goals and objectives are.
Thank you, Papa Betsy's. We appreciate you.
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Listen, the phone lines are lit up. Pop Jones, John, don't go anywhere because we don't want to grab them on right now and have to go to break. We have to go to break.
No problem.
But when we continue on the other side of the break, we're in conversation with Victor Sims talking about the psychological reasons behind decision-making, and the phones are jumping. Y'all stay with us right here, WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Mostly sunny with less wind. It will feel battered today. Highs reach the mid to upper 70s with dry conditions. Chilly tonight, low 40s on the North Shore, 50s on the South Shore. Tomorrow, similar to today, few more clouds though. Highs in the mid to upper 70s. Possible storms for Saturday. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present Keeping You Well Cafe. 60 Minutes with LCMC Health, where the doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of care here in New Orleans, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. At the Keeping You Well Cafe, LCMC Health joins WBOK and local businesses to answer your questions about wellness and health.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up. The Good Morning Show. Good morning. On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanti Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is also in the building, and we're in conversation with the one and only Victor Sims, talking about the psychological reasons behind decision making. And we're going to go straight to the phone lines because they are busy. Good morning, Pop Jones. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Victor Sims.
Good morning, Dr. Wise and Dr. Clark. I need y'all to help me out.
What you need?
You know I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer.
But you still cut?
But this is what I would like to know. Do the president government of this country ever intend to use the Congress and the Senate to do anything or pass any laws or make any decisions? Is all they're going to do is go by executive order? That's a question I have. Maybe y'all could help me out with that.
Sure. I'll give it a try. I doubt it. Main beats because, see, when I think I am king of the hill, I don't need to go and request permission from others. And going to the Congress means they're going to have debates. They're going to have discussions. They're going to have people not going to get along with it, not going to go along with it. See, he doesn't want to deal with that. He wants to make a statement. He wants to be king. King means my thoughts and ideas are the top. They're the best. There's no decision. There's no dissension. There's no conflict whatsoever. To go to the Congress, you now have to get people to agree with you, and sometimes that's not going to happen. His psyche, in my opinion, cannot tolerate not getting what he wants when he wants it. This is why anyone, I don't even remember his first time around, he got into a Twitter war with a union rep, and I think it was in Michigan. Here's the President of the United States getting into a social media conflict with a union boss in Michigan. What type of individual does that? A person who feels his every thought is golden. And if you have the audacity to challenge it, then there's something wrong with you, so now he has to attack you. Everyone who has said something about this man, as accurate as it may be, he comes back and attacks you because he feels as though his thoughts, his ideas are golden and everyone should go along with them, and he has no idea. If you've ever noticed sometime when he gives a talk, if he's doing it in front of press, he makes a statement and he looks around for someone to approve it, to agree with him. See, he needs that approval to validate his own thoughts on his own head. So why does he use executive orders? Because that's the end of the road. It's his thoughts, his ideas, and he cannot tolerate any other thoughts or ideas that would challenge his.
Oh, Dr. Clark, I thought we were living in America, the land of the free and the democracy. But it don't appear to me that it's a democracy anymore.
Well, you may be, technically we still are, but in order to do so, elections have consequences. And to get what we're looking for, we all have got to be involved. How many of us didn't go out and vote? How many of us didn't think through the rhetoric that this individual was putting out at the time? Many talking heads I hear now say, well, he said on day number one. Well, if you're a conscious person, you recognize that there's nobody on the planet, day one, is going to change as much as he said. But people went along with that thought and idea because it felt good. But we have to get involved. Whoever thinks that your vote doesn't count, you now realize that it does. And I'm going to make a little bit of correction here. I'm Victor Sims.
I'm sorry.
That's quite all right. That's not a problem.
Look, forgive me, Dr. Sims. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Well, what I wanted to say is that look like I don't really hear to see the outcry about what's going on. Nobody, especially those that are in office.
Well, I tell you, the next time...
They don't seem to be saying nothing about this.
The next time I'm on, we're going to talk about my concept of personality disorder, which I think we have sitting in the White House. Then you may understand why you're not getting so much blowback based upon the type of individual who he is.
Thank you, Pop.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Appreciate you. Good morning, John. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with Victor Sims.
Hey, good morning, Doctor and Dr. Sims.
Good morning.
I hardly get a chance to listen to you guys because I be so busy from time to time, but I live to chime in on this subject. We're living in a time now that is very dangerous. It's more dangerous than the 60s and 70s, okay, for black people. And I'm glad we're taking the mindset not to get out there and get involved in the streets because it looks like they want black folks to throw the rock and everything's going to kick off. They're going to get out there, and you know what's going to happen. They're going to start pew-pewing us. You know that's going to happen. And they're going to use that as an excuse to bring in martial law and control. It's like everybody's trying to goad us to get out there. But this conflict that's going on now that is getting ready to kick off, it's going to be more vicious than the 60s and 70s. You've got elements now that are going to really be out to kill people, especially people that they consider different from themselves. And so we need to keep our heads low and protect ourselves. If it comes directly at us, we deal with it. Other than that, we need to keep it down. These other people, as they say in the male community, got to carry their own testicles. Because what's going to happen, and see, this is where the Democrats are kind of gloating, thinking, okay, everybody's going to swing back to them. I'm telling you, that's not what it is. Because one of the reasons this man won so big is because of, just let's admit it, Democrats did some positive thing, but they was on a whole lot of damn goofiness, man. They just stuff they were on and pushing and what have you. The people now have put so much hope in this man, and if he fails, they ain't going back to the weirdness. The next step is violence. That's it. Because they feel that both parties, both avenues have failed them. There are elements here, that's it. They're going to take to the street, and everybody that's different, because your skin color is going to become your uniform, and it's going to go down. I can see it. I can really, really see it. But like I said, scriptures say in the last days, the Egyptians shall fight Egyptians. Okay, we're in a type of bondage. This is another modern spiritual Egypt and all of the other nations that went before. It's a Babylon. It's a Rome. It's a Medo-Persian Empire. It's the last of all these great powers and most wickedest. Egyptians are going to fight Egyptians. That's going to be these people getting down with each other, and we need to stay out of it. Because the scripture said that he shall have a perpetual hatred for Jacob, or for Israel, which we are the modern Israelites. And these people have an illogical perpetual hatred for us for no reason. We've done nothing to them. But they have a perpetual hatred. The scripture said that. And so stay safe, stay blessed, prepare to protect yourself, because like I said, it ain't going to go back to the weirdness. They failed here, and that's it. It's going to get left and get funky. Take care, family.
Thank you, John.
Oh, one more thing.
Go ahead.
Please admit from time to time, people get out here and try to get that real ID before May the 7th, because this man, the president, is talking about pushing it down to where supermarkets are going to be obliged not to sell food to you unless you can verify that you are truly a citizen. It's really targeted at the immigrants. But I'm afraid a lot of our people are going to be lackadaisical, and that time is going to pass. And if this state acquiesces, because it's a red state, it's going to probably admonish all the major supermarkets not to do it, because Donald Trump is trying to push this thing called the Alien Enemy Act, okay? But you have to be at war with the country, the people that you're targeting internal. We're not at war with any of these Latin countries, so I don't see how I can use the Alien Enemy Act, but he's trying to push that as if you start trading with them, then there are penalties for that. But please, every now and then, admonish our people to get this done, because a lot of our people are going to be lackadaisical, and it's going to be a mess, man. It's going to be a mess if they push it down. Okay, family.
Thank you, John. You got about a minute.
Yeah.
Dr. Clark.
Yeah.
So you could
okay.
I was thinking of Lean on Me when Pop said it, so that's why I smiled, free Mr. Clark. But
you see,
you got about a minute to wrap up. So
again, thoughts and ideas come from individuals, which you want, desire, the environment that you've been developing, what you hold as valuable and as important to you. Based upon the environment that you're in, if another individual was raised in another environment, they may have a different set of priorities that is important to them. And within this country that we have, that's why they say democracy is sausage making, because you got to blend all these different thoughts and ideas from all these different people from different areas. They have different wishes, wants, and desires. But the bottom line is always about comfort level of getting what I feel I need and what I want. How do we go about doing that, where our thoughts and ideas come from? So everything that you see that eventually comes out as a wish, a want, desire by a political official, a law, a policy, is about someone's idea about what they feel is correct, that will cause them to have a positive sensation about whatever it is that they're talking about. Our task is to know where our ideas come from. Why do we think the way we think? Why do we want what we want? Where did we get that from? Do we ever challenge our own concepts about things? Because one thing about the fellow in the White House, he challenges nothing concept that he has, and he puts people around him who do not challenge him because it makes him feel comfortable. But for us personally, we've got to pay attention to why I want what I want, where am I getting that from, and what is the real outcome if I actually achieve my goal. Because one time I was told by a psychiatrist friend of mine, be careful what you ask for, because you might actually get it.
Child, listen, we have to get you back on as always. I always invite you back. You could even come co-host one day with us, because I think that the level of expertise that you bring helps us to make it make sense for our brain. And my brain is wired that it has to make sense for my brain. But I cannot leave here without first thanking you for joining us this morning, but also reminding our listening audience that there's an election on March the 29th. Early voting starts March 15th. Early voting ends March 22nd. I'm going to ask my super producer to drop the link from the Power Coalition into the chat so that our listening audience can have access to read those amendments for yourself. But the Power Coalition, myself, Dr. White, and a lot of grassroots organizers are asking you to vote no across the board on all 4 amendments. We have to protect the things that we can protect, and we do so by going to the voting booth. Please show up in numbers. Early voting starts March 15th. Early voting ends March 22nd. Election day is March 29th. And I'm going to leave you with this, Victor. The intravenous drug user who is now running our Department of Health is linking the measles outbreak to people having a poor diet. The person that's shooting drugs up his arm, probably between his toes, probably underneath his tongue, so he can hide the track mark from people, is telling us that the measles outbreak is linked to poor diet and health.
Yeah.
I mean, the cognitive dissonance is
it's incredible.
I'm trying to tell you, but promise me you're going to come back.
Oh, yes, I definitely will come
Listen,
back.
y'all stay tuned up next for the front porch with Grady and Kimber, but as far as the Good Morning Show, we're going to see y'all tomorrow. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.